Hola, ¿se me oye? Sí. Bueno, kaixo.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm very happy because I see many known faces in the audience, and this is very special for me. Let me first of all present this space that has been organized not just by the San Sebastian Film Festival, but also by all the audiovisual feminist associations like AMA in Andalusia, AMA in Murcia, United Cinemia from Valencia, Damas Visuals in Catalonia, EMEN in the Basque Country, and Women in the Industry of Animation, MIA, and the Association of Women Filmmakers and Audiovisual Media, FIMA. So today we want to carry out a common reflection about strategies, practices, and challenges concerning production from a feminist perspective, as you are all aware. I would like to share a thought with you, which is that whenever we talk about feminisms and standards and transforming life and industry, currently is accompanied by hostility. Many thinkers, women thinkers, believe that safe spaces free of discrimination, of prejudice and violence do not exist as such, but are built. In this case, feminist associations have been working for many years together with this film festival for this space to be safer and safer for all of us. We were talking right now. I have the pleasure to know Ivone Bengoechea, who is the first vice president and Basque minister for culture. And I would like to ask you all to turn this space into a safe space for all of us for an hour and a half. Let's build this safe space together. And today, in this panel, we have three wonderful women professionals of the film industry, and I would like to introduce them. I don't like sharing the full CV or biography of all the participants, but I would like to highlight some of them, the achievements. First of all, we have Lara Izaguirre, director and producer, who has produced many long feature films. She has a number of different awards. She produced a documentary, Voices of Birth, in 11 countries, from Mongolia to Ethiopia, and a dozen short films, among them Cuerdas. She also produced 2,000 species of bees. She also received a special mention for master's degrees in equality between men and women, and she's also promoted the artist residency entitled Una Habitación Propia. She has also fostered this residency, Una Habitación Propia, as I was saying, and she also writes and directs, and her long feature films, Nora and Un Otoño Sin Berlin, An Autumn Without Berlin, were premiered at the San Sebastian Festival. She's currently writing her third feature film, Irma, of which she's a screenwriter, director, and producer. We also have here with us Inés Nofuentes, producer, currently based in Malaga after living and working in Latin America for several years. She has a degree in audiovisual communication and master's in executive film production from EICTV in Cuba. She's produced a number of different films, among which Ishkanul, a winner of the Silver Bear, the second, and Te Prometo Anarquía, and also Pólvora en el Corazón, all of them with great international repercussion. She's currently working with directors from Argentina, Panama, Guatemala, and she's a member of the Producers Network, IABE, and the European Film Academy. In addition to this, she collaborates with academic institutions and directs the international screenwriting program Cine Nido in rural Andalusia. The aim of this residency is to promote work-life balance and equal opportunities within the industry, and to enable screenwriters to participate with their children if they need to. She also collaborates with different entities as a teacher, and in 2023 she was chosen by Variety as one of the 10 Spanish productors to be followed. Congratulations. And last but not least, we have here with us Beli Martinez, a doctor in audiovisual communication from the University of Vigo, and the first PhD thesis looking into the novo cinema galego. She's a producer at Filmica Galega, the Galician company specialized in independent cinema, which has produced works such as Longa Noite, Those That at a distance resemble another, and Eles transportan a morte in Galician, meaning they carry death. Her films have obtained the jury recognition at festivals such as Venice, Locarno, San Sebastian, Mar del Plata, Bafisi, Cinebi, and Playdoc, among others. She's also developed a number of singular projects, including Proyecto Xoxeo, an audiovisual archive winner of the Audiovisual Literacy Award given by the Ministry of Education. She's currently working on the new feature films from Lois Patiño, Maureen Facendeiro, Joana Pimenta, and Carlos Casas, among others. And she combines audiovisual production with teaching at the Audiovisual Communication and Advertising Department at Vigo University, and has given talks at universities including Harvard, Edinburgh, Porto, and the University of Basque Country. Very well, after this introduction, let's now tackle this panel. For those of you who are not familiar with the intersectional feminist perspective, we mean the mechanisms we have and the tools we have to identify, question, and value discrimination and inequality due to gender, sexual orientation, race, purchasing power, care, disability, reasons. On the other hand, it enables us to think about practices and actions to create necessary conditions for change and for transformation towards a more equal society. And this is a challenge. If I think in my daily life, I can say that many of us have this feminist perspective and approach on our daily lives, but practicing it, implementing it is not easy, and there are many challenges and many failures. If we move into the professional arena and we take into consideration the different power dynamics of the industry, these practices are essential in strategic roles such as production to foster new audiovisual production models to reestablish, for instance, timetables when we're shooting, hierarchies, or work-life balance, among many other elements. Belén Funes, director, said feminism needs to conquest cinema, so to say, not just in narrative and representative issues, but also concerning entrepreneurial rights, as for voices and empowerment. These are all very broad matters that we all need to participate into, everything having to do with ecology and economy. And this is our conquest. And my first question would be, when and why do you think that conventional production is not something you're comfortable with and you need to go for new production models? Lara, would you like to start? Yes, of course. We created this production company 15 years back because I felt, because I had had some meetings with producers and I realized that someone like me didn't fit. And so I thought that nobody was going to produce my work. And I said, well, I will set up my own production company. So I was quite young back then. And I found myself with a script of my first movie. And I was also shooting. And I didn't quite know what cinema and filmmaking was all about. So what did we do back then? Well, we developed cinema and film products that we thought needed to be made, and we asked other people, how do we do this? And we asked for help here and there, and we came up with a team, and we came together. And, well, the first shooting day, we were there shooting a film. And the first thing, well, things went quite well, but then as days went by, I realized that in my team, there were like two ways of making films. And I realized that I was much more comfortable with one of them because there was room for discussion. We rehearsed a lot on the set. We gave our opinion. We shared our opinion, even if it wasn't our role. I could listen to the members of the crew, and some other people felt quite uncomfortable with all of this. So I realized that I wanted to produce movies from a different place, from a different approach. And when we finished shooting the film and we thought about this and we said, what is useful from all this process we've been through, from this experience as a director, producer, screenwriter? And we started to draw some conclusions, maybe not consciously, because I didn't have this special mention back then. I got later, but then, I started to think that, films could be made from a different place and build something different, and that was my experience. I think that some women carry some very natural elements with us. But of course, films are big, crews are big, they're large, and there are many people involved. And then you need to take action. You need to start very early in the process when you start writing the script, because there are some things that are not that natural. They need to be shared, stated, voiced. And from my first experience, I started to build something different, and I think that little by little we are creating new practices, feminist practices, and we're doing better and better. And I'm talking about our daily lives. I mean, you shoot for a short period of time. In 20,000 Spices of Bees, I think we were shooting for like 5 years, but shooting a film is not that the most important thing. There are many people involved. There's a great deal of motivation, of course, a great deal of work. And all that experience teaches you a lot. And I believe that these practices need to be implemented on a daily life, even when you're not shooting, when you're making films in some other way. It would seem that you stop living because you're making films, but this is not the case. Would you like to share something else? Any of you? Yes. Ines. As Lara was saying, I felt this need to live cinema in a different way. My first experiences in this film industry helped me to realize that I was not connecting with the standard way of doing things. And that's when I had this opportunity to travel for a couple of months to Latin America. And what happened then? These 2 months turned out to be, years. I found there a different way of looking at reality, another approach, another way of looking at things. And that's what connected to my wish to tell stories. And that's why I decided to stay there, because the pace was different in Latin America. There was a space where the film industry had not yet been developed as such, but there was this eagerness to tell other types of stories that were not so hegemonic. And so I decided to stay there in Latin America for a while. And I got in touch with local filmmakers there and developed some projects with them. And the way we worked together was always, trying to have very, very, very small teams. And we try to build more cooperative type of leaderships. And we wanted to have a professional relationship from a different perspective, paying more attention maybe to care and affection. Because, at the end of the day, the stories we want to tell reflect precisely all of this. And I believe that in the back office, we need to be consistent with the type of cinema we want to make. And then I came back to Spain. I came back to the Spanish structure and the Spanish models, and I realized that things are more complex here. Obviously, the industry, the production model in filmmaking in Spain are based or on power relations that are very deeply rooted, and we have this patriarchal system here. So the feminist movement tries to compensate for this using a different approaches and different measures, like the point-based system. The thing is that these are very deep roots, and it's very hard changing these deeply rooted systems. And it's very hard coming up with a model that is more compatible with life, with care, etc., with different creation paces and rhythms, right? And I don't know if this answers your question, but I tried. I've done my best. We're still fighting. Yes, of course we're fighting.
Nobody expected that I was going to make cinema. My parents were working class fishermen, and I studied in public universities. I never attended a cinema school, so nobody expected me to be here. Basically, cinema schools in Spain are private. But I wanted to make cinema, and the first time I came into the industry, I was amazed. I'm a very pragmatic person, and I thought of myself when 60, and I was not ready to do that for the whole life. Why do we need to go so fast in life? So I didn't understand the sector, and I left it. It was 2006, and I said, okay, I'll become a teacher. It's better. And there's something always pushing you and follow your way. So in Galicia, which is a peripheral region in Spain, and in fact, Galician cinema didn't exist until recently. And in Galicia, we do shows and productions for the Galician TV, and that was all. And I was working in Madrid 3 months later, and that was my goal. It was incredible. I had this opportunity. It was so important. And now that you are here to politics and culture are not sterile, there's a good relationship. We need to defend our projects, and politicians should be here as you are here today, and you need to listen to what artists have to say. In Galicia, there was a new integral audiovisual law. It's not just a policy for production, but for creation, for dissemination, for broadcasting. And there was a person, Manolo González. He was my teacher, and my production teacher. I didn't like it. I didn't like him at the beginning, but he conveyed a message. There's a different way of making cinema. We cannot copy the Hollywood model because Hollywood is so good at it. You have to find your way and your style. You need to find a Galician way from our language, Gallego, from our culture, from our territory and our style. And that's where and that's when new projects emerged. It was in parallel with my thesis, my PhD, my research study in Arrayanos by Eloy Enciso. He's another good friend of mine, and he told me it's so different. It's a documentary shot in the mountains, and there was a new style in Galician cinema. And so I started with my thesis, and I decided that I really liked it. That's what I want to do and what I want to support. And that's what I've been doing. I support a different way of making cinema, and I really believe in it. And I think my projects, I believe in them. It's always so complex, but I know it's difficult, but we need a lot of pedagogy. I really trust in pedagogy. And people need to understand that there are many, many different ways of making cinema. There are different types of cinematographies and different types of filmmaking. I want to produce in Galician, to shoot in Galicia, and I co-produce a lot with Portugal, because Portugal is my neighbor country. So it's interesting to find a way with our style. You mentioned the word shooting. The shooting is the place where those initiatives take place. Several months ago, there was a meeting between technicians and professionals from the feminist way of making cinemas. One of the debates during that meeting, in fact, there was a lot of nuance about 8-hour days for shootings. Is there a solution? Can we work in a different way during shootings? How many hours a day? How to better organize ourselves during the shooting? How do you organize shootings? What do you think about this reorganization of working time? I'm in favor. It's my dream to wake up in the morning, go and work for 8 hours, shoot a sequence, go back home, and do what we do. Proximity cinema with sustainability, very close to the place of shooting. People think that time is money in the world of cinema. It's the fear of losing a minute because you're going to lose a lot of money. And I think we need to destroy that approach. We need to have different ways of talking with the teams. We're going to shoot a short film next month, and we have a different approach to this. We want to do it slowly. They knew about this shooting 18 months ago. We know that you need to create teams, but very close to the shooting and to the location. So my proposal is I want you to be available for this short. You may go to other shootings, you may have other assignments, but during the previous month, I'm going to be totally available for this. And with the technical managers, we never spoke about hours. There was a financial proposal for the whole of the short, for the whole of the shooting. And they accepted, and I was really surprised by that. All of them accepted. They have a long experience in shootings. They've worked with different models. And when you propose another type of setting and a different formula where they have more freedom too, especially now with so many series going on, so many shootings at a time, and people shoot for months and months in a row, and very far away from home. So I want you to be available for me for 1 month. Let's do this shooting. We will continue to work and do our other activities around, but we'll do this short. And I thought that they have to be paid per day, that there's a collective agreement that they have to respect. No, but in fact, men and women all together want to be free. And we want to give time to what we do, to devote more time to what we do, avoiding the time pressure, because we always think that we need to be super productive and to do things fast. But now the ball is rolling. You're super productive. You have time, and you can sleep on your 2 ears. And maybe in pre-production we'll be around 8 hours a day. Not bad. Because when you start shooting a short or a feature film, you get absorbed by it. But normally we try to work no more than 8 hours. When setting up the teams, we see that many people are ready to work 8 hours a day for a longer period, more weeks, for the same amount of money. And for me, as a producer, as a director, I wasn't able to do it in my previous jobs, in my previous projects, because we have a specific structure and this has an impact on the budget. But it depends how you organize it. But I decided to talk about the life of my team during the shooting, the timeline. Normally, a technician tells you, I want to work for 4 days very intensely, and I want to go home afterwards, because they've been joining projects for many months. But now my team lives on site, and you say, okay, instead of 6 weeks, we'll work with the for 8 weeks, and we're going to shoot for 8 hours a day, and you will be dedicated to this as a local. And I'll try to do that with my feature film. Let's see what happens with my proposal, because I think we will succeed in doing that, to have more time ahead of us. It's very difficult, in fact, because the human side is essential. We should match our budget and the teams and the schedule. But then you need to hire a camera. That's time, that's money. And we're talking about big companies, big businesses, renting cameras, renting lights. But I prefer to pay for people instead of paying for spots, for spotlights or for machines. And if I have to pay that rent, I cannot use 8 weeks. I only have 6 weeks for the shooting, because I can't pay an extra fortnight for the material. So you need to bargain. It's good to have this approach in mind, but it's very difficult to implement it, because all the industry should go with us. And maybe we should have more people working in the renting businesses, in the post-production companies, thinking the same as us. But many people are now changing their views, doing very interesting projects around. And I believed that that was going to be impossible, but I'm very optimistic. It's going to happen. I'm very concise. In fact, we never paid extra time. We never pay extra hours. It's the agreement says, collective agreement is 9 hours plus 1, so no extra time paid. That's all. 9 hours, that's a maximum a day. Sometimes it's longer, but you have to compensate it, because overtime is not paid for. That's our rule. Maybe you're going to earn more money during the shooting, but in fact you're losing your life. I'd like to ask you how this is linked to family and professional lives. How do you reconcile your family life and your professional life? Well, I do agree with Lara. I'm in favor of the 8-hour-a-day shooting time. And now the sets are very masculine, and this is very, I suppose it's linked to this work-life balance, because women are at home taking care of children, taking care of the house, taking care of their parents, and that's why there are more men working in shooting sets. But I think that the other sex has to be included. And they have also, men should also do the house chores and take care of their children. So we have a next number of weeks for a shooting, and I think that there should be equality in the work-life balance between men and women. Finanido is the script writing residence. This initiative was set up by our desire to be a mother. I wanted to be a mother, and I'm alone. And in fact, you are excluded from many spaces, training, and you don't have access to that because you're a mum, and sometimes you just don't go to artistic residences, you don't go to labs, to trainings, to courses, or to festivals because we have children and we have to take care of them. And work-life balance, well, people take for granted that it is your problem. It's an individual problem, and you have to do it yourselves. And so after this period, I decided, okay, there are many moms having the same problems as me. Many dads are also doing that. And with a group of people, we launched this initiative so that creators and script writers, and this is open to men, not only to women. Well, we invite them to come and work for 10 days around their projects, because for script writing you need time and quiet. You need time and quiet. So this residency allows for men and women to come with their children for this script writing nature residence in the Valley of Green in Granada. Until now, 80% of the people, and this is the third year already. So this year it was the third edition, and 80% of people who attend to this lab are women, and most of them come with their children, and basically women come with their children to the residency, and it's very important to give them their space, to give more room to creators, to women creators, and this help them to leave their loneliness, the loneliness of having children and raising children. This is a great opportunity, and this is the possibility of creating a professional network from another space, from another place. So I am totally in favor of the 8-hour shooting time, and this should be reorganized by the industry, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Great. A unanimous answer. Let me remind you that there will be some open questions, or there will be the opportunity for our members, the members of the audience, to ask questions. So you can now start thinking about your questions as we talk. Let me also mention something. It's okay. I like this 8-hour working time with service to support parents with their children. Okay, that's nice. Sounds very nice. And I've heard colleagues, and I've listened to women producers in a quite passive way. I've listened to them saying, okay, we've got all these good intentions. How can we apply them in these standard subsidy models? Do you have any experience about this? Are there possibilities to implement all of this? I mean, are institutions actually ready to some of these new production models? Well, I don't know about the institutions. I think it's producing companies who need to provide for all of this. Yeah, but I mean that sometimes I've heard people say, okay, I can't find a place where I can invest this subsidy, to have access to subsidy. I mean, I think that you're talking about creative production. So we need to be really, really creative here. Of course, you don't have money earmarked for this and that in this case. And there's been conflict, of course. We've had to, in some cases, we've had to think, okay, we prioritize having a longer shooting period. And we wonder, will this be understood? on the other side. And you need to justify why you're going to be shooting for more days. And, we don't tackle everything that's behind that. It's true what she said. I mean, you talk about this in your production company, then you look at the standard, and then you need to be very creative. But because you're not going to get a subsidy for childcare during a shooting period. Or yes, there could be money allocated for that. We tend to speak about political institutions here that publish the official gazette in Galicia, but they only have to publish it there. Period. That would be it. As simple as that. In our last shootings, Mori Facendeiro, for instance, has two children, and obviously she doesn't want to leave her children. So she gets a house where she can stay, where her children can stay, her parents look after her kids, and when she finishes shooting, she goes back to her place and looks after her children, and that's non-negotiable. I mean, she stays with her family. As simple as that. Now, Joana Pimenta is a mother as well, and she takes her child everywhere, even if she's shooting, and that's it. And she will get a room or whatever she needs, right? And there will be a person looking after her kid. You can include that as a member of the production team, right? That person who is looking after her kid. Why not? And that's it. It's as simple as that, really. Would you like to add anything? No? Okay. Fine. Talking about this role, this new member of the production team, we have here, we need new figures, new roles, right? We've been like 10 years talking about this intimacy coordinator role. And we have new figures coming up, new roles that are required here in our industry. Roles that provide knowledge, tools, etc. Have you had the chance to talk about such new roles? Not directly, really. But in a space where we have the producing company, they shot a short film, and the director is here somewhere in the audience, and I think that was a very important role. So I haven't worked with them myself, but I think they're very helpful. And I know that many friends, actresses, have shared with me some experiences, like the first time they got naked before the camera. And almost none of them express that it's been a nice experience. There's a great deal of vulnerability there. And this is like a good opportunity for you to work in a film. And I've heard many times people saying, well, I didn't want to, but my breasts are showed in this film. And I think that's been protected. Intimacy is being protected, and it's very, very necessary because so many things have been happening there. Would you like to add anything there? No. Okay. I'm thinking. We're talking about shooting, and before that, and for instance, in 20,000 Species of Bees, you had already been working on the project for like 4 years. At the same time, you have fostered a new artistic residency. So you've taken so many actions. So my question is, well, how do you think about this residency? How is it designed? How do you arrange it? How do you organize it? Yes, I didn't know she had worked on a residency, so I I'm very happy about that. In our residency, and it was called Una habitación propia, a room of your own, and it was like the residency I never had. And I wondered, okay, what would I like new filmmakers women filmmakers to have? What are we giving them? And yesterday we had this meeting, and they were asking me, why did you arrange it this way? And it's like, well, I thought of what I would have liked to have in the past. It's not very complex. It's really simple, really. We were inspired by Virginia Woolf's Room of My Own, and this is about creating a space for writing. So we give them time, money, and a space, a room, and we started back in 2017. We didn't have that space. We just provided some money and some consultancy services. We supported and we accompanied women. And what I want is these women come to this residency for individual women directors, where they develop their own individual projects, and we have this working team where they create together. And we have a number of directors participating there. So what I want is them not to have to go through the first project the way I did, right? I want them to be supported from the very first project they develop, a short film, a feature film, and I want them to be able to implement things in their own way. And this is one of our main projects. And I'm so happy since we started it. We didn't really know if there was a need for this, and we got like 120 applications from 20 different countries the first year, in the first edition of the residency. And so we got these wonderful messages and letters. People were very motivated, and people didn't have any room to do this. And it's been 100 years since Virginia Woolf, and they still need a room of their own. I think this is our way of changing things, and we support women over a full academic year. It's not just us going to a festival for 4 days and you go back home. No, you have time, you have room, you have people you can talk to. You can talk to people in an official way or in an informal way, which is where actually things start to get interesting, where two people that do not know each other meet and talk about their days. I think this will help us to create from scratch new ways of making films for women from their own perspective, in their own way. Ines, I totally agree. My premise was this need for space, for room. I don't know, how long have you been organizing this residency? The first one was in 2017, then 2018, then we stopped because we only had our own resources, and now we have more support. And this has become bigger. And now this is our 5th call for projects. So you're quite young, really. For us, it was the same. First edition was something we did by ourselves without much support. We asked for support, and it was impossible to get it. And even so, we decided we had to go for it. I myself didn't have much to lose. Things went very well, happily. And we plunged into it. And from the very first experience, we managed to get the support of some institutions. I mean, for the second edition, like La Montor, the Sky Foundation, etc. So we had more support this second year. We knocked on many doors. Many public institutions said, okay, we'll help you. Then they didn't, because they don't quite understand this need. At least that's the way I sense things. They feel this is a very nice idea, but they don't quite understand. I mean, institutions don't quite understand the need for space, for more room. And, well, at Cine Nido we have a working team, and we really want to keep working on this project, and we need to conquer this space. But of course, it won't be easy. People are not going to come to you and say, "Oh yes, you have this wonderful idea. What do you need?" That doesn't happen. It hasn't happened to me so far, unfortunately. Regardless of all the achievements you've had in the past, you have this feeling of starting from scratch every time, and you need to prove your worth as a woman constantly. And of course, this space is worth it. We want to improve it. There are things that evolve from one year to the next, but it's a very nice experience. The most beautiful thing is that projects keep moving forward, they keep growing, and script writers who have been with us, they've developed their projects and they've realized that this is their passion, that they are good at it, and they go for it, and they really believe in themselves. And this is really empowering. And so they start to get funding for their projects in the first edition and the second edition, and that's really nice. It would be ideal to have more support, of course, to work in a less precarious way. That would be great. But we'll keep working on it. We'll keep creating these spaces. I think that little by little, this dream will come true, because this project is really worth it. People are really happy. I myself am really happy. We have so much collaboration. We make connections. And we give women, this very special place, and we share life. We share part of our lives together, and that's really nice. It's like a little oasis in the desert. And I hope that, well, beyond this space, I think it would be very nice to have this atmosphere, and we could hug each other and support each other. Yes, of course, that would be very nice. I would like maybe now to give the floor to the audience. Yes, are there any questions from the floor? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you very much indeed for your explanations and for all the initiatives that you are leading. And I have a standard question to break the ice. We're here in this room, and apparently there are a lot of women and very few men. And the title is about intersectionality and feminist production, but it's not production for women or by women. But as in other industries, in other businesses, we realize that for this round table, which was sold out, in fact, apparently the vast majority are women here, very few men. You spoke about male sets, basically. Higher presence of males in the sets, in the shootings. But this is not just in the world of cinema, but here in this specific case, in production, what could we do so that the half of the population is attracted to this reflection and would be more present in the future? That is men. What could we do?
Yo coloco mis esfuerzos en
I put my efforts on the men I know and with whom I want to work. and I do it little by little. The conquest is very, very hard, very long, and I would like to share with them, and I invite them to test it. We spoke about failures and successes and testing new and trying new practices, new experiences. My second shooting was very happy. We were so happy. There was harmony. There was no overtime. There was something very beautiful during that shooting. There were more women than men at the time, but though the men, when this happens, they want to work with me again because they felt at ease. They were very happy and comfortable, and have no ambition that half of this room would be occupied by men. It's not. I think it has to come from their own initiative, but I'm always in favor of good men, men of talent, men who support us, and I do it in my daily life, one by one. I always trust pedagogy, even though it doesn't work every time. It's so sad that men are not here, but it's a reality. In several weeks' time, I'll attend a language congress and cinema and other languages, which is so important. We need to think in a different way. Maybe we are insisting, saying the same in the same places. We're going to speak about language and cinema in the university, but if we went to Ubigo, the cinema school, maybe less people would be interested, but we would have more success in attracting men and to have male audiences. Well, I do it in my work. I do it with my experience. In my company, we are to have a partner. He's a guy, and he has respected me so much during my professional life. He respects everything. He respects my decisions, even though I choose very strange projects and sometimes it's crazy, but I'm so thankful. It's my best travel mate. But I had very bad experiences too. I repeat it every time. But because I repeat it, I insisted, and sometimes it's useful. My latest hit, of course, we have Me Too's sessions. Well, we're not talking about Me Too today, even though it does exist. But we have colleagues who do abusive practices, and we have to point our fingers at them. It's important to denounce scandalous behaviors. It has happened to me in the last productions. I hate it. I have had anxiety a lot, and I've felt very badly. But I want to say who is the responsible of that. If we do an investigation, we will know who does that. It's important to denounce and to point at these guys, because it happened to me. But maybe another lady shouldn't work with this man the next time. And they say she's crazy. She is shouting at me. But I think. I'm the majority partner. I'm risking my money. I'm risking my life and my professional life, and we shouldn't forget that we have to point at those people with those horrible behaviors. I do it every time. I say it because you need to investigate and to know who these guys are so that they cannot work in the future. We need to say who they are. And I'm not just talking about me and my productions. I'm a facilitator here, but I cannot be facilitated, I'm sorry. No, regarding the question, I don't know what happens in production, but this is a great opportunity. It's a responsibility of institutions. And 10 years ago in the Berlinale, there were talks about ecology and sustainable shootings, and these meetings, these talks were empty. Now we need this best practice, and producers need to be sustainable, and the directors need the money, and they have to be sustainable in their shootings. And maybe because the rooms and the talks will be full of people and not just full of women. We'll wait for that. There was another question here.
Coordinate, but just one moment. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm a journalist from India and also make documentaries. So my question was, you mentioned about having some feasible new production posts. How are these feasible and how can they be used? Because right now, if you look at productions, they always complain that we don't have enough money. Funding is very less and it's very difficult to fund one feature or a documentary. So how do you plan to add more of these concepts that you spoke about?
Sí. ¿Puedo hacer un resume in Spanish? Si lo he entendido bien, la pregunta es...
She's repeating the question. Can you...
You want me to repeat the question?
Yes.
Okay, the question is that how do you convince the production companies to incorporate the new ideas that you have? Because we are all talking about production companies coming and saying that we don't have budgets. That's the usual complaint that we always get. And a lot of films suffer because of that.
En el caso en su caso ella comenta que apenas hay presupuestos y que cómo planeáis o qué estrategias tenéis para aplicar todas estas ideas que habéis propuesto.
Sí.
Si lo he hecho bien, si hay alguien que sepa más inglés que me corrija, por favor.
Creo que ha dicho que
How do we convince production companies so that they do not complain, and where's the money coming to finance those fantastic ideas that we share with you today? Well, I believe that production companies, well, there should be a law. If there's a law, they have to abide by the law, and the production companies have to do this and that, and we should have the same rights for a woman with 3 children than for others. So either there's a law, there are rules, and then the companies will abide by the rules and by the laws. Sometimes we need to test it, and the law forces you to do that, and maybe they will discover quotas. You remember the quotas between men and women in leading positions. So thanks to quotas, many women were able to occupy managerial positions. Some of the laws are very positive and it's very useful. But then the other possibility, of convincing them, it's difficult, but we are really convinced. We are really persuaded of that. Nobody needs to convince us anymore. We are the bridges. We can test things. We can just have initiatives. Sometimes we succeed, but the conviction should come out from the production companies themselves, from the producers. And some producers don't have to change their behaviors because they have been doing all the time the same things, and they don't need to change. But we need to convince them in a different way. Any more ideas, practices, or reflections?
Eskerrik asko denontzat. Súper interesante. Yo creo que además todo lo que estáis diciendo.
Super interesting. We've been thinking about many of your ideas in our past life. It's true when you speak about laws and regulations, but the problem is that the producers and production companies are always lagging behind. We're talking about small production companies with women as who are leaders, and it's always us who do the job. And we have a production company, myself and a man, with just 2 partners. And I take the decisions about the choice of the movies we can produce. We set up this company 6 months before the COVID, pandemic, and we do non-fiction cinema with a lot of handicaps, a lot of difficulties, but we have other ways of working with from a feminist perspective. This accompanies me. I think about innovative and horizontal working processes, because we are talking about creativity, and in our case, we work with the sound designer, with a musician. We should be in parallel, but we have to break verticality, to break the horrible hierarchy of the traditional cinema making. So just forgetting, and regardless of the handicaps or all the difficulties and barriers, normally documentaries have these problems. What are our advantages? What is our competitive edge? What happens with a different model? To what extent this could be a reality for fiction, feature films with big budgets, with teams of 60 people or more? How can you do that in big movies? For me, the most important choice is to choose the people I want to work with. Basically, women. If I'm looking for a camera person, it would be a woman with a camera. It's my choice. And doing this in a big production, it's so complex. This necessary hierarchy shouldn't be based on power, but on recognizing the authority of women. I can imagine that women producing and directing big projects, as in other areas of life, have always the same problem. Your authority is not recognized. It's not that we want to do what the guys do, which is imposing their power. We need to be respected, and our authority and our choice should be respected. But I suppose there's not a magic recipe, because I don't do big productions, and that's where the problem is. The freedom of choice of choosing different teams, bigger teams. That's the industry. It's very complex to go to the next step. The recognition of your professionalism and respect of your authority. Thank you very much.
We don't work with very, very large productions, but can say that it's hard to reach those spaces. I mean, whenever it comes to producing a large project, or maybe directing it, or being the director of photography of a large film, all that's really difficult. Even if we have already assimilated all this theory in our daily lives, whenever you need to put all this together, this creates a great deal of pressure. I mean, you put under a great pressure, because you yourself do not have any reference, any role model that have already achieved all of this. And so this makes things really, really hard. And I think it's almost inevitable, because this is a real difficulty. I mean, we're making our first films when we are close to our 40s. Instead of when we are close to our 30s. And that is related to many other things. So when you say, okay, I got it, everything's fine, we got the funding, and then there's this element of privilege. And then you need to have a very good team, you need to trust your team, because, productions are hard. These are very long processes where there's tension, there's stress in many different shapes. And I think, as you said, in a documentary, you have very low budgets, you have very small teams, and things could be easier because of that. The larger the project, the more you need to believe in it. Because I've been very hard on myself, because I say, oh, yeah, I haven't made this the way I wanted to. I can't give you many success stories in this sense. It's more like, well, this stage worked quite nicely, but then this process didn't. It was a mess, a complete failure. And there were most of us feminist women, but sometimes you just can't make it. It's hard. It's really hard to make it. I don't have the answer. I would like to have the answer to that question, but if I had to say something, when it comes to choosing members of your team, the leaders, men and women leading the team, need to understand this very well, especially if you're talking about large film. In a short film, for instance, there will be 5 people that are convinced about all of this, and this is like something that spreads out. But then if you're in a large international production, you need to have more people that are sure, that are certain about this. You need to have like 30 people, because that wheel is harder. It's larger, it's bigger, and it's harder to set it into motion. And my objective, for instance, for my next project is to not to be that smashed by that wheel, right? You need to start working with team leaders. You need to share all of this with them and say, okay, this is something we want to do because we are sure this is the way. I believe that today this discussion should be held in the Cursal conference room. I think this would be essential.
Por aquí había...
I think there's a question over here. Hello, since you're talking about content and about making high budget productions, I wanted to share some data. We at the Miel Association, we've been working as an association for a few years now and collecting data. We've found out that when we started collecting data, women directing teams and writing scripts, especially worked in low-budget projects like short films. And since we now have access to subsidies, we've realized that now these women are working in feature films. So people working in short films, women working in short films were 40% in short films, and now they work in feature films as well. They are working in larger projects. We've moved from 17% to 30% of women directors working in the animation industry, for instance. So I think that we need to keep fostering projects led by women. We, the associations, need to work even harder now for them to get subsidies, for them to get support. Right now, with the data we have, we can see that we are achieving some things. We have more women leading teams in small projects, and we have women leading teams in larger projects. So we take off the pressure from women. And we also need men producers coming to hire us and to tell us, don't just work in short films. Because we tend, as women, we tend to say, okay, we stay here in short projects because this is under my control. But little by little, I think we're realizing that we can actually work in larger projects because we're good at it. So we need to keep pushing. I think that's the best thing we can do as women, as professionals. We need to get the support of the associations for that. And we still need to grow a lot. Thank you very much.
Creo que podemos hacer una...
I think there's time for one last question. Yes. Let me first of all congratulate you on this panel. I'm a reporter from Andalusia, and I heard Kate Blanchett, who is persuaded about environmental sustainability, and she has this theatre company that's based on zero carbon consumption. And also, as I was hearing you talk about how we can strike a balance in a macro production, a large production, we need more subsidies, more budgets. We have Maria Zamora and Amazon, and now this huge and wonderful film is possible thanks to a lot of money. And I'm beating about the bush a bit, but I think that we need to think about this idea that Kate Blanchett is sharing with us. Let's care about our planet. Let's have a different model in our society. Let's change things and stop saying that women can only work in small, intimate projects. She made me think that we also should be caring about our planet. I just wanted to share this with you. I think all of that is really interesting. Obviously, that's very necessary. I think it's about time we looked after our planet and looked after our carbon footprint in our work. When we're shooting, as in life, we generate trash, all sorts. And I will tie this in with, this wonderful film you just watched yesterday. Production companies work in projects, choose projects, and then they tell a story. We have stories about women, first sexual intercourse, first menstruation, etc., etc. We have this trend we detect and we can spot in Spanish filmmaking. So that's one of the things I think about quite often. I mean, what type of stories? What stories do you want to be telling? What type of women do you want to show in our films? At the end of the day, what are we talking? What are we showing? Middle-class women? European women? What type of women are we showing in our films? I think that's one of the elephants in the room. My latest project with Joana Pimenta was really crazy. And I saw her previous movie, La Tosen con Chamas, who was not broadly seen in Spain. This made me think about the type of women we are showing. And in this case, this film was shot in a favela in Brazil, a slum in Brazil called Ceilândia, where you have the highest ratio of people with AIDS in the world. And you see prostitutes with guns in that movie. And I said, okay, I want to show these type of women. We need more diversity, and not physical diversity, also diversity in the type of stories we tell. That's my suggestion. Let me close this panel and insist on something that you've mentioned. At first, I asked you about feminist practices, and Lara and you said that we also need to develop practices about language policies. We need to make films both in Galician language and the Basque language. Can you tell us more about that? Well, what can I say? I'm quite pessimistic about that, about women and fiction in Basque, in the Basque language. I'm working on it. Last year we had 2 specific artistic residencies for projects in the Basque language. It's really hard to create a project and develop it in the Basque language. We keep translating because there are mentors that can't speak Basque, etc., etc. And this is why projects in the Basque language are worse. Why? Because you need to read the Spanish version, then you need to check that it's quite similar to the original in the Basque language. There are many obstacles there. And people say, okay, we're supporting the Basque language, etc., etc. Because behind all of this is a huge difficulty. And now we have these platforms, and there's this obligation to produce films in minoritized languages. And these platforms allocate points for you to get subsidies, and they are looking for new projects. And I'm thinking now about a case, and I'm going to share it with you. We have this film, a feature film we're working on. We've been working on it for a long time. It's in Basque, and there was this platform interested in the project. So we sent them the script. We were very motivated. At first we thought, oh, this is impossible. This is not a platform where our story would fit. But sometimes, sometimes things happen when there's this obligation to make films in minoritized languages. Maybe things start happening. And I think you need to take chances and make films in minoritized languages that will then, of course, be developed in dominant languages. And it was, for me, I felt like I had to take chances here. So what happened? They read the script. And then I got a phone call from a woman. It's a bit like your story, right? So I got this phone call from a woman who said, okay, this is a wonderful project. Your approach is great. You have I would like to see it. I mean, I would like to be a viewer of this project. But I said, okay, I don't want a viewer, I want money. But she said, men were not interested in this project at all. And it was like, oh my God, this is happening in 2024. Because we have this point-based system. If that platform would have said, we love that project, then we would have gotten 6 points by ICAA. And that would mean we would get money, thousands of euros, to fund the project. But since the committee was not interested, you think, oh, in the past, I used to think that we were not writing the right scripts. We were not telling the right stories. But now, I see that they say, okay, you have a wonderful project, but we're not interested. So we need to think what stories we want to tell, because this is going to have a huge impact on the project we're going to be developing. And this ties in really neatly with Basque language, because some projects can be carried out in minoritized languages. But we need to be telling stories that are interesting for men. So we're kind of forgetting that there are women that are attending or that are going to the cinema. They're 80% of consumers, and we're forgetting about them. And we're forgetting that in the past, so many films were made that were not interesting for women. So, I think that we need public support. We need public television to be supporting us. We need public money, because private platforms will not be interested in our projects, just like that. And they are very powerful, and they have a huge impact on public subsidies. Because we have these point-based systems. Women get more points. You have more opportunities. Well, but if you get 15 points concerning positive action for women, there are like 85 other points that are not related to this. If you screen your project in the official section of a festival, you're getting 5 points. And you get a subsidy if you have half a point, right? And if you want to get this large subsidy by ICAA or Basque government, it means whether that project is then carried out or not. In official sections, in A-class festival official sections, you have less women than you have men. So if this gives you 5 points, I mean, you're not supporting women. And the same thing goes to platforms. If you know who they're producing and you look at the ratios, then you say, oh, what's going on? So I think this is a huge challenge for us, for films directed by women in the Basque language. I'm very concerned about it. So I think that we all need to work together. We need to do things in a different way, because otherwise this will not be happening. I directed my latest fiction film in Basque. It was screened here in 2020. How many women directors have directed fiction in the Basque language since 2020? It's heartbreaking. The answer is none. And I don't want to be the only one. I need support by others. I need to share. I need to share everything I do. When you were talking about making films in the Galician language, the same thing goes to the Basque language. We need to have women's voices heard in the Basque language as well.
Vale, pues creo que lo dejaremos.
Okay, that's all for today. I think many topics have been tackled. We have a lot on the table, lots of reflection. I cannot forget part of the title of today's session, intersectionality. We speak a lot about feminism, and sometimes in life, well, you said that in this room there are basically only women, and basically we are white, and we apparently have no disability, and we should have more variety and diversity. And talking about feminism, talking about those places where new practices are emerging and different ways of telling stories, and teams are more diverse and festivals are more diverse, because you mentioned the points, etc. But voices telling those stories should be diverse too. I think that this is a mixture between collective action and public policy design. And I believe that we will like to stop here. I'd like to remind you that our colleagues from MN will take a group photo at 1 p.m. in the stairs of Tabacalera. You're invited. Thank you very much for the panelists. Thank you to the festival. Thank you to the associations for this invitation. Thank you very much.